Good morning and welcome to Around the World in 274 Days. Today we are in Riga, Latvia, and we are touring Jewish sites here in the city. There was, especially when Germany invaded and took over, a lot of persecution and atrocities done to the Jewish people. So that's what we're going to spend our time on today. Should be very interesting. In these woods that we're walking into, 35,000 people, 25,000 which were Jews, were taken into here and killed by the Nazis. Once again, it's hard to, it's so peaceful in the forest right now, and the living hell it must have been in terror for those poor people. I can't even comprehend in my mind what state of mind you'd have to be in to do that to a fellow human being. Beaker Niki Forest is Latvia's biggest mass murder site during World War II. There are 50 marked mass grave sites in the forest. About 35,000 were reported to have been killed here, including Latvians and Western European Jews, some Soviet prisoners, and political adversaries. Jews from all over Germany, Austria, Czechoslovakia were brought here, including those from the ghettos, and were killed. This memorial that we're looking at has 4,000 roughly cut stones or pillars standing up. They represent the 4,000 cities that these people came from across Europe. The words on this granite block comes from Job 16:8. Earth, don't cover my blood, let my cry have no place to rest. After spending time at the memorial, we walked down the same trail that 35,000 people walked down to meet their death. These concrete rectangles are the designated or identified places of mass graves. The Nazis would have prisoners dig the grave or the pit, and then they would march their prisoners in and shoot them. And their method of doing that became very sophisticated. The killings here started in 1941. In 1942, 12,000 Jews were brought from Germany and Czechoslovakia, and there to be executed. In 1943, the Riga Ghetto prisoners were brought here to be executed. In 1943, the latter part of the year, the Nazis dug up the graves to burn the bodies to hide the evidence. They obviously knew they were doing wrong if they had to hide evidence. The Nazis' method of execution improved over time. They would first started out lining them up along the pit, and then in front of the pit on the other side they'd have machine guns. But then the bodies didn't always fall in, and so they had to manhandle them into the pit. So then they went up behind them and shot them in the head. And that would work, but a lot of times they'd have to go down, send someone in the pit to level out the bodies. So that was a mess. In the next forest we're going to go to, we'll show you how they, I'll tell you how they really streamlined the system and were made it possible to just do the unimaginable in a 2-day period. Well, I just walked through the forest, saw the 50 identified mass grave sites where they lined up their Jews, political prisoners, gypsies, and shot them in the back of the head. It's depressing to think that mankind can do that. Hopefully we have learned from history. We are now at the Riga Ghetto Holocaust Museum here, and we got kind of a short time here, but we're going to try and run through and see what we can see. Again, just depressing things. This is one of the boxcars they used to transport Jewish prisoners. This was inside. They've kind of decorated up with mirrors and trees. You can see a reflection of yourself like you're in there. This is the villains. These are the guys that really were the evil ones. And these are the victims, men, women, and children. This was a display of what it was like to live in the ghetto. They didn't say how many people would be crammed in these rooms, but it was wallpaper with newspaper, and you only had, I think it was 2 square meters per person. This is the site of one of the main synagogues, which as soon as the Germans came into town, like within a day or two, they burned it to the ground. All you can see now are the foundations. This is all that's left of the Jewish synagogue that was burned 3 days after the Nazis arrived. The Latvia police were ordered by the Nazis to fill it with Jews. There's 500 or 400 of them in there. And then they burned it down and shot anybody that tried to get out. I later learned that there were numerous synagogues that were burned that night, and a total of 400 people were killed as they burned. This memorial has the names of every Latvian who helped save the Jews. There were hundreds that were saved. One individual saved over 150. These old buildings are part of the Jewish ghetto here, where each Jew was allowed 2 square meters to live in until they decided to exterminate them all. There's some newer buildings, but you can also see the older ones behind them. Hitler ordered that all the Jews in the ghetto be eliminated because he wanted to make room for more Jews coming out of Germany and Austria. And so we saw the one forest where at least 12,000 were killed, and we're going to see another place where it's even worse. This is another forest. This is the Rumbla Memorial, where townspeople from the ghetto were marched to and exterminated here in the forest. There were over 25,000 Jews that were executed in these woods, similar to the other woods we were in. Finished the extermination from the Jews in the ghetto. They brought in Frederick Jekyll, who really streamlined the process. He had 3 large pits dug. Took 3 days, and then he had 1,000 Jews at a time march in. He would have them go into the pit, lay down, and then shoot them in the head. Later on, they were just marching over the dead bodies, lying down, and then he would hurry and shoot them. He used Russian guns and ammunition so as to help prove that it wasn't them that did it, that it was the Russians. But he did 24,000 Jews in 2 days. This menorah is part of the memorial here for the Jews that lost their lives. And as you can see, there's these stones just like the other ones, but this one has the names of those that they knew lost their lives here. And it's quite quite humbling to walk among these. It was a very humbling day, to say the least, and hopefully we have learned from our mistakes and this will never repeat again. If you liked our video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel Around the World in 274 Days. Thanks for watching.